Okay, about abrogation, that you say we have abrogation.
Yeah, abrogation.
Okay, well, no, we don't have Islamic abrogation. When we talk about abrogation in the Bible, we're talking about a covenant that God made with Israel 1,500 years before Jesus comes. 1,500 years later, because of Israel's failure to honor God and being thrown out of the land, and now under the rule of foreigners, God in his mercy responds to their circumstances 1,500 years later and gives them a new covenant, a covenant that takes their circumstances into consideration. So it's not abrogation in the sense that you understand. It's 1,500 years from Moses to Jesus, where Israel is no longer in the land. They're scattered out of the land. Then they're brought back into the land and have foreigners now ruling them, which means they cannot apply the covenant of Moses as it was given because of their circumstances. So God in his mercy.
But how come your God can't give them the power to
because that's his punishment, and that's what your Quran says in chapter 17. If you read it all the way to 9, it says that because they failed to honor the covenant, Allah brought nations to punish them and beat them entering into their homes. So how come your God Allah couldn't give them the power? Yeah, I thought so. But now let me show you why it's not the same thing as your abrogation.
Let me ask you a question. What was there any abrogation in your Bible between Abraham and Moses and between any of the let's forget about Jesus.
How can it be an abrogation when Abraham is not a community who lives in the land and he's supposed to rule the land when he's a stranger in the land? What abrogation? He's a unique person living in a unique circumstance where the land is not his, it's occupied by the Canaanites. So whatever rules God gives him, it's for his needs to meet him where he's at. Whereas now at the time of Moses, it's an entire nation commanded to rule and own the land that Abraham was living as a stranger. How's that abrogation? But now I'm going to show you the problem with your abrogation.
It's minor rules here.
Oh, no. Actually, it's because Muhammad would change his mind the next day. What kind of abrogation is this when you say A on Monday, but then you say no, it's B on Tuesday? And that's why they mocked your prophet. Go to chapter 16, verse 101 of the Quran. Give me 2 minutes to read the difference where even the unbelievers started mocking your prophet. When we change a verse of the Quran, i.e. cancel, abrogate its order, in place of another, and Allah knows the best of what he sends down, they, the disbelievers, say, you, Muhammad, are but a muftari, a forger, a liar. Nay, but most of them know not. Now let me show you the commentators. Why did the unbelievers say your prophet is a liar? Asbab al-Nuzul by Al-Wahdi, Jalalain, Ibn Abbas, they all record the complaint of the unbelievers. But this one tells you why specifically they complained. Here, let me send you a link. And when we put a revelation in place of another revelation, this verse was revealed, watch, when the idolaters said Muhammad is mocking his companions. Why? One day he commands them to do something, and the next day he forbids them from doing it. What kind of logic is this? That within 24 hours, I change my mind and change the ruling with a ruling that's different and contradictory within 24 hours? So can you explain to me the logic in canceling out, abrogating a ruling within 24 hours? What happened in 24 hours for the circumstances to change so drastically in 24 hours to demand a new ruling?
Is that 16:101?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have any answers.
Now go to chapter 2 of the Quran, verse 106.
We do not abrogate a verse or cause it to be forgotten unless except that we bring forth better than it or similar to it.
Now pause right there. This is talking about nasikh wa mansukh, the doctrine of abrogation, right?
Yes.
So Allah will abrogate, cancel out one of the previous verses, right?
Yes, of course.
Now, do you believe that the Quran is the speech of Allah, kalam Allah?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so now I want you to reason with me. The Quran is the speech of Allah. It's his speech. Does Allah speak perfectly or imperfectly?
Perfectly.
Okay.
Of course.
So now explain to me, how is it that here it says Allah will abrogate one verse that's part of his speech with another verse that's better or similar? How can Allah's speech be better than other parts of his speech?
Well, maybe for that certain time period it was perfect, but as time changes
that's not my question. Because it says we abrogate a verse with something better or similar. If all the verses are the speech of Allah, no part of Allah's speech can be better than another part, because all his speech is perfect, right?
Right.
Okay, but then the verse says no. There are verses that are better than other verses. How can parts of Allah's speech be better than other parts?
I think that goes down to human comprehension. Some of those verses are better understood by us. So maybe he's sending down verses that are better explained.
Where does the verse say that? That some verses are better understood by us. So then why waste time giving you the verses that are less understood by Muslims? Why not start with the clear ones from the beginning, especially when the Quran says it is perfectly clear and explains everything in detail?
Well, that's exactly what it's doing. It's perfectly explaining these verses.
Really? You mean the verses I gave you, which you had no explanation for?
Well, maybe I do not understand, but maybe Zakir Naik or another preacher.
Zakir Naik? Yeah, that was nice. That made me laugh. That was pretty good.